turn some things on. I'm gonna high-functioning village idiot talks about various injuries and illnesses over the years while walking back and forth between Patrick and Henry Streets, where there used to be a forest. And now there's a corridor with bamboo arching over it on both sides. Let's see. So I was born prematurely in August of '59, but pulled through that. Let's see, my folks tell me that when I was about 2, I got a hold of some lighter fluid. I'm guessing it was clear lighter fluid, and I'm not sure whether it was the kind for charcoal or for a Zippo lighter, but regardless, I drank some, and I guess it was pretty life-threatening. I'm told that my stomach had to be pumped, and that's about the end of the story as I've heard it. So, made it through that. Had a lot of concussions as a kid and in high school and since. And, playing ball and things. Falling, bike accidents. I had the chicken pox, and I have all these dots all over me. These pale scars that attest to that. Made it through that. I know I got a lot of vaccinations as a kid. I also wonder whether, given that my folks were told they weren't going to have kids, whether there was any kind of fertility meds or treatments that came into play when they were seeing if they could defy the odds. Around 1967, this is out in Indiana, and my mom wasn't a driver when I was a kid, so I ended up in the hospital for a few weeks with double pneumonia. One of my lungs collapsed. I remember them having this weird apparatus with these kind of corrugated plastic clear tubes that I would have to sort of breathe through with my mouth, and it would try to inflate the collapsed lungs, and it successfully inflated one of them, and another one mostly inflated it. But I came away from that hospital experience where I was only visited in the evening after my dad got home from work. And I did have toys and piles of comic books and stuff, coloring books and things to fiddle with, and I suppose there was a television in the room. But I did not like being in that hospital, and I still don't like going to hospitals. I'd almost sooner just tough it out at home than spend 2 days in a hospital anymore. That was not fun. And I came away from that lung experience feeling as though it would be a good idea to exercise a lot. And I didn't do it in a way that, at least not often, I wasn't like a runner, weightlifter kind of training exercise person. I just really upped my activity. Climbing trees, running or riding a bike instead of being driven somewhere. The most serious injury that I ever sustained was in 1996 when I was working in human services with very disabled people, autistic and mentally retarded adults who also had sensory impairments, blind, deaf, speech problems, a lot of sign language. And these were people that an agency called IPP was contracted to give service to, and they were the last people to be deinstitutionalized in the state of Massachusetts. There was a euphemism that the company was the cul-de-sac at the end of the deinstitutional highway. These were really tough people, very, very often unhappy and abused grown-ups that had a lot to be upset about. And we did our best to make their lives fulfilling, teach them things to do that were fun and that they were interested in. And I had a job coming up with vocational curriculum to help. I believe I had 18 clients, as we called them, help them find work. Well, anyways, we were part of a day program where a lot of activities in sort of a hand manufacture was going on. And one day I heard some of my staff hollering out that they needed help, and they sounded like they meant it. And I went into the large day room, and one of the clients, big woman who was capable of terrific violence, had them on the floor and was trying her best to bite them. And, we'd seen her bite through a pair of pants and take a chunk out of someone in the past. And so this was serious business. And I went in to help, got a hold of her legs, and tried to restrain their movement so that, so that these other two people could get themselves into a safe situation with it. She got 1 foot free, kicked me in the side of the head, and literally lifted me off the floor and across the room with that kick. And I ended up, over the course of the next year or two, going through all kinds of problems with memory, reading, having a hard time continuing through sentences because I would get lost in them. To this day, almost 30 years have gone by since this happened. I still will be talking to somebody and they'll mention something from long ago, and it will be as though a whole filing cabinet full of memory has just been presented to me for the first time in 30 years, and things come back all at once. It's really interesting. This injury messed up my neck, messed up the hearing in one ear, broke my jaw, and had me in workman's comp for a long time. I left that career. I was actually medically removed from that career. And I suppose that one of the things that propels me along as an artist and a musician is that making things sometimes triggers a memory that I had lost. And that body of work that's showing out in Reedsville right now at Art in the Garden, 261 pictures, was sort of a phase of documenting memories, and in the process of making these pictures, getting more of the memories back. So it's interesting how an injury actually turned into a fruitful discipline, and that in time, a lot of the things that I was seeking were given back to me, having committed to that discipline and the patience that would be required in order to get that stuff back, because I can't choose who talks to me and reminds me of something from the past, but there are ways to kind of sift through what remains of that mnemonic filing cabinet that got kicked over in 1996 is that I can go through those things myself if I'm willing to slow down enough and connect the dots, and more things come back to me. I've broken some bones over the years. Both thumbs, both wrists, both bones in my lower leg. That was a rotary break. Accidentally cut off my right forefinger when I was about 19 years old on the sharp edge of some porcelain fixture when I was helping somebody clean up a vacant lot full of junk. That was sewed back on, and that is one of my important right hand finger picking fingers, the forefinger, so I'm glad it's back on. I've broken my jaw. I've had teeth knocked out, too. One by a baseball, another by a person's fist. I've broken my right collarbone playing touch football with 7th graders. I've got quite a bit of vertebral damage up in my neck from some things from some accidents that I've been in. I've got some scars, a big one under my chin where I got hit with a hockey stick. It laid me open. I cut the end off, the tip off of one of my middle fingers when I was in metal shop in middle school, and the teacher, Mr. Hackett, who was also missing a finger, just sort of stuck it back on where it was supposed to go and put a bunch of Band-Aids over it, and it grew back on. I've lived through Rocky Mountain spotted fever, probably 7 instances of pneumonia, a lot of bronchitis. It seems like I was most frequently ill when I was teaching middle school. And when I got done with that part of my life and moved on, a lot of things just cleared up. The human body's a pretty amazing thing in the way that it can regenerate. So I don't think of myself as being someone who's sick, but rather as just kind of going through a valley. Because so far I've always come out the other side.